Yeah. It's not only you. Everybody that will be godly will in this world is not going to be satisfied with what goes on around us. Because when you think people have done the worst, they go to the next level. And it's not just starting with us. We have to hang on. Are you with me? Please hang on. Hang on. God is still going to be the one who will win the battle. We're fighting against sin, and in the book of Hebrews says we have not even fought up to the point of blood. Right? It's just disturbing our mind. And the Bible let us know that the righteous mind of Lot was disturbed in the land where he was. Right? Okay? So it's not, the devil might let you know, he might be telling you that all these things is just you. I feel it in Jericho. Okay? Just so you know. Okay? And anyhow you put it, everywhere sin is rampant. So don't be discouraged. That's one of the reasons why we come together, even though there are just a few of us. But we always have to come together to give ourselves encouragement, to encourage you. And the fact that you are here tonight is an encouragement to me. I know I am not fighting alone. I know you now know this warfare, you're just not the only one fighting it. We fight it in our homes. We fight it in the school. We fight it at the place of work. We fight it anywhere you look. You turn on the TV, the things you are going to see, the things you are going to, they glorify sin. What are you going to do? Now, the reason I went into this kind of a rant is for you to see that these things didn't just begin. The children of Israel were in a perpetual cycle of sinning and coming back to God, getting punished, and the rest of it. Now, it's good, and many times I think about it. When God forgives, there will be relief, right? There will be deliverance. Some people are going to, maybe at that time they make it to heaven. How about all those people who have died when there was apostasy? How about them? How many? So may God help us. We need to hang on there. And we will see in the life of Saul, that was one of his problems. Let's trust the God who called us. We were not just called yesterday. Even if we were called yesterday, the God of yesterday is the God of today, is going to be the God of tomorrow, and it's always going to be God. We can fail, we can falter, we can fall, we can do, anything can happen to us. God will not change. The state of our mind, the faith we have in God, must also not change. We are going to be challenged. That is life. Life is full of challenges. Some people, their challenges start from the womb. They start facing challenge from the womb. You pray them out. They don't want to come out. They cross in the stomach. When they're coming out, the oxygen is already finished. They came out with blood. They didn't have water to come out with. We have children like that. Isn't that so? Their challenges came from before they even step out. And since they have been on this planet, the challenges haven't stopped. So, may God help us. Let's just make up our mind, and by God's grace, we found a golden way, and we want to stick to that golden way until God says it is finished. It is done. And we see in the life of the children of Israel, they come now to another cross section of the road. And at this point, let's read some things from the Bible so I don't. Let's read 1 Samuel chapter 8.
And it came to pass, when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of the second, Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba. And these sons walked not in his way, but turned aside after lucre, and took bribes, and perverted judgment. Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together, and came to Samuel unto Ramah, and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. Verse 6. But the things displeased Samuel when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. Verse 7. And the Lord said unto Samuel, Hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee, for they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, but I should not reign over them. Verse 8. According to all the works which they have done, since the day that I brought them up out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me, and served other gods. So do they also unto them. Verse 9. Now therefore, hearken unto their voice, howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. So, what do we see here? What do we see? Yes, ma'am.
He said that the children of Israel requested for a king.
Okay.
He said now that Samuel is old, his children are not walking in the ways of the Lord. And because of that, they want a king, and they also requested for a king that would lead them to fight their battles just like the other nations.
Thank you. So they had a good excuse. Yes.
And again, they said their two children are not behaving,
Mhm.
so which means that Samuel cannot rule those children no more. If he cannot rule his own household, how will he be able to rule Israel?
Okay.
So one cannot.
Thank you. Now, Samuel had served them all his life. We studied about him last week, right? From the time when he was a tiny little boy. He never knew anything else other than the house of God, and he served them all his life. Now he's old. And he put his children to follow after him. And if you read, they said Samuel used to go in a cycle, sort of. He had some cities, Bethel. You will read more about them in the future when we talk about Elijah and, all those places where the sons of the prophets were. Samuel was the one that's pretty much started all those towns. So Samuel had a good and wonderful plan for the children of Israel. He wanted to make sure, he wanted to make sure no section of the population wandered away from God. So he will go to them. He will go to them. And he didn't wait in Ramah where he was for them to come meet him, but he will go to them. He will go and teach them. He had some, so he put his sons in place. Now, the children of Israel said his sons were taking bribes. And they were not judging correctly. Is that the first time you will see that kind of thing happen? No? Was that a thing that should necessitate changing the way God was leading them? During the time that Samuel was there, all the wars that we learned about, the Philistines and the rest of them, did they lose? No. In chapter 7, we saw that when they turned back to God, and Samuel prayed for them, God turned that down from heaven and discomfited their enemy. They didn't have to raise anything. We're told the Israelites, they didn't know how to do anything with iron. There was no blacksmith in the entire land of Israel. When you want to sharpen your knife, you have to go to the Philistines, because they had the technology for sharpening things. So if your cutlass or your knife or something was dull, you could not sharpen it yourself. You would have to go to the Philistines. They were the one that had the technology at that time to make anything that has to do with iron, to shape it. So that was why later on in our study, you will see there was no iron sword in the entire land of Israel, only two. Saul had one, Jonathan had another one. But the Philistines, they had it plenty, because they knew they had the technology to be able to cast iron, to take iron from the ore and to mint it and to cast it into something and to turn it into a weapon. The children of Israel did not know how to do any of those things. But then when there will be war and they are on God's side, they didn't have to even use their spear, their stick. They used stick. They didn't have to use the stick. And how in the world would you have made a good stick without anything to sharpen it and make it? So they were completely impoverished. But when they were under God, God showed to them, not by power, not by might, not by army, not by knife, not by any kind of thing can you win the warfare. God just does it. So now they came to Samuel and they gave him this and say, your children, they're not walking after your ways. And so we want a king. Samuel recognized what they were saying. And it hurt Samuel very bad. And it would have hurt you. If you are the pastor, and people came and said, because of the way your wife or your children were leaving the church, will it hurt you? If you are the pastor, and they say, because your children are doing something or your wife is doing something, it's not you. You're a very good man. We all know you're a good man. But your wife, your child, because of that, we're leaving the church. How will you feel? Grieved, thank you. Grieved. That, and it, now multiply by so many. For Samuel. Samuel was very, very grieved, because the intent of the children of Israel is to get a king, right? But they found excuse, right? They found excuse. And now they roped everything to the excuse and said, really, and Samuel now spoke to them as, okay, you don't want my children, I will take them away from there. But if I take the children away, would that be okay? No, that's not the real point. The real point is we want to have a king so that we can have somebody that will be going in front of us and going to war before us. But they have been having all that for 400 years, right? We studied about Ehud. We studied about Samson, Shamgar. All of those people, what they do, they went to war before them, correct? They corrected them, they showed them the way of God, and now, I just pray God will help us. If you want something, you can have it. The Bible is full of promises of all kinds. You can certainly take a verse of the Bible that suits your position. The devil came to Jesus, and he quoted from the Bible. those words, they were in the Bible. It was not a complete lie. They were in the Bible. So if you want something in your heart and you want it very bad, you certainly can find some justification for it. You certainly can find it. But is that what we should want?
No.
Something that God really don't want us to have, but we want it by all means. And we want to twist the hand of God until God does it. Will God not just give it to us and say, okay, you go have it? The children of Israel, they should have known. You know, when they wanted meat in the wilderness, they were telling God, telling Moses, we want meat. In the land of Egypt, we're eating this and eating that and that. And God said, okay, you want meat? Well, why don't you ask nicely? Why are you murmuring in your camps? Say, tell them tomorrow I'll give you meat. And Moses looked and said, God, these people, the men that are over 20 years old, they're over 600 and something thousand. Even if we kill all the cow in this place, is it sufficient? God asked him, is there anything too hard for me? He said, you wait till tomorrow. And God gave them meat. But what we read in the Bible is that while the meat was still in their mouth, God sent leanness to them. He sent plague among them. We can have what we want. You can decide on what you want to do, and you can do it. And you can find justification, even in the Bible. But you know it is your heart deceiving you. Because the Bible let us know the heart of man is desperately wicked, and it doesn't matter who you are. Okay? May God help us that we will submit ourselves unto God. You know, one thing that I always feel is if anything is pushing me, do it now, do it, go and do it. Most of the time I know that is going to result in evil. I don't want to do that. Don't push me. Don't push me. Don't push me. You know, I'm talking about my own heart. You have to have this thing. This thing is the thing. You have to have it. You have to have it. I don't have to have it. The only thing in life I have to have is a good relationship with Jesus. There's nothing you're going to miss which Jesus cannot bring back. Even if it goes past you. If it's an opportunity, you miss it, no big deal. There is nothing you can so miss that God cannot double and triple for you if you go at God's time. The children of Israel, God had in mind to give them a king. They're not the one that started. If you remember way back from their grandfather Jacob, when he was blessing, Israel, when he was blessing Judah, right? They already told him that the scepter will not depart from his house. What's the scepter? Is the authority of the kingship. So he already told them, even before they were a nation, that there's going to be a king that is coming from the house of Judah, and God had it in mind. And if we read the book of Deuteronomy, God has already told them, when you have a king, this is how your king is supposed to behave. This is how you are supposed to treat your king. So God already have it there that they are going to have a king. What is the problem? Exactly. This is not when God wanted it for them. They couldn't wait for God. They couldn't wait for God to fulfill his promises to them. They're not the first one. Their first father, Jacob, you remember? God already said it when he was in the stomach, Jacob I love, right? But did he wait? No, he didn't wait. He didn't wait. The mother said, you know, you need to do this thing, you need to do this thing, and you have to do it now. There's no need to think about it. You need to do it right now. And thank God, God still overruled. But did he pay them? Did the mother enjoy it? Did the father enjoy it? Did Jacob enjoy it? No, nobody. God still did what he wanted to do. God still performed his son, even though they didn't wait. So the quality of being able to wait till tomorrow. Wait till tomorrow. God is alive. No matter what is pushing us, we can wait till tomorrow. You know, that's the lesson I pray the Lord will always help me, especially when I'm upset about something. I want to wait till tomorrow. Because you need to talk to God about what you are upset about. And you need to, and any answer you give when you are upset will not be correct. So I like to wait till tomorrow. You know, give me time. Let me go talk to God. Because when I'm in trouble, you're not going to save me. You're not going to help me. Only God will. So I want to be sure that if I'm going somewhere, God has a hand in it. You know? So these people, they said, give it to us. And when do we need it? Now. We need that now. So Samuel, as usual, he went back to God and he rehearsed it before God, and God said, listen, Samuel, I have seen it. They are not rejecting you. You think they are rejecting you. But no, before you were born, they have been rejecting me. For all this time, they have been rejecting me. And finally, they want what they want. He said, give it to them. But tell them the consequences of what they have requested for. And God gave them in that chapter 8 what God told them what's going to happen. So they said, yeah, nevertheless, we want that. You know, we don't have the time to read all of it, but you know, if you read from verse 9, it said, now therefore hearken unto their voice. Let's see verse 10. And Samuel told all the people the words of the Lord unto the people, and asked of him a king. And he said, this will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. He listed a whole lot of things. And the people responded back to him in verse 19. Nevertheless, the people refused. That's what it is. That's characteristic of them. They refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, nay, don't worry about all those things. Just give us a king. And Samuel went back to God. God said, give it to them. So in chapter 9, we see how God orchestrated the coming of Saul to Samuel. Now, let me ask you, did Samuel know Saul before? Were they acquaintances? Did they know each other? Okay, they didn't know each other. Okay, so because of our time, how did they get to meet? Yes, ma'am.
The ashes of Saul's father were missing, and he had been gone from the house looking for them. And while they were looking, the servant suggested that there was a man of God nearby. Mm-hmm. Let's go and ask him. Maybe he will be able to tell us where to find the ashes. So they went to, that was how they went to Samuel. And when they got to Samuel, Samuel was telling them,
don't worry about the asses. There's something else more important. And God had instructed Samuel to anoint him as king.
Okay, thank you. We read in our passage, in our memory verse, remember? And when Samuel saw Saul, the Lord said unto him, right? Yes. Behold, the man whom I spake to thee of, this same shall reign over my people. So the previous night, God had told Samuel, by this time tomorrow, I'm going to send somebody to you. And as our mother already told us, Saul and his servant, the father sent them to go look for the donkeys that were missing, and they looked everywhere they could look. They didn't find them until they got to Samuel. So when they came to Samuel, God told Samuel, that's the man that I told you about yesterday. Does that tell you how our God works? Do you see that Saul was not planning on becoming a king, right? It's not actually one of those people who went to ask for a king. It's not an elder. It's from where? Which tribe? Benjamin. And Benjamin is a small tribe. And according to Saul, he said his father's house is small in Benjamin. Nobody knows us. Don't talk to me like that, please. What does that tell you? Say it again. He's humble. Okay. What else? Yes, ma'am. Yeah, we haven't gotten to the rule yet. Just at this point, what does that tell us? Thank you. It was humble, right? It was humble. And you see, if you humble yourself, it's God who is going to do what? Exalt you. It's God who is going to lift you up and put you where. There is a reason why you are created. God created you for a reason. He put you in the family you are for a reason. You know, I pray that God will achieve His purpose in our lives. There's a reason why God called you to the gospel. I don't know. But I believe one of the reasons has been that a light shone into your family, and you were the light. Somebody else got to know about Jesus, and it was through you. If that hasn't happened, it will happen. Because God doesn't waste resources. There's a reason why God brought you. And for Saul and Kish, they were concerned about animals. Correct? But God wasn't concerned about animals. God was looking far beyond. And the things that we think we're not worthy of, that's what Jesus is preparing for us. I go to prepare a place for you. Are you worthy to be somebody that somebody will, even in this world, can somebody just go to Nigeria or Caribbean and build you a house and just give you the key? Is that what happens? No. It's not what we are worthy of. It is what God decides to give. And glory be to God. All the free things, all the good things we enjoy, they are free from God. God gave them to us. This gospel is a wonderful thing that God gave to us. And if we follow it, if we don't turn back, you know, look at these people. They were tired of looking for what they were looking for. And they wanted to go back. Saul said, look, my father is going to start looking for me. I need to go back. And the servant said, well, before we do that, let's talk to a man of God. Let's see what God has to say about this. Do you remember what we started with? You know, what does God have to say about the situation you are in? I have made such big boo-boo before. When things happen at a juncture in your life, well, in my life, and I looked at the circumstances all around me, and I said, I'm not even going to try. I'm going to put this away. I don't belong there. And God now asks me, did we talk about this? Because that was me. I looked at my circumstances, and I know from the place where I was born, my parents and everything all valued together, they cannot pay for one semester for me. What's the point of trying to go to a university? I just took the letter, threw it out. But thank God. God now called me and said, did you talk to me about this? And I repented. Oh, Lord, I'm so sorry. I brought the letter to church. It was a letter. I went to the altar, and I tendered it before God and said, this is the letter. I am so sorry. I didn't, because I was hopeless. But that day was the day the Lord told me, take that letter back home, tell your parents, I am going to sponsor you, and they will not need to pay a penny. That was in 1979. And throughout my school years, all the schools I went to from that time on until I got my PhD, they never paid a penny. I never paid a penny. That's what God can do. So do we need to factor God into our lives? Yeah. You don't give up because something is not working out, because we are trying on our own. And it's not necessarily bad that you're trying. It wasn't bad that they were looking for the animal and they didn't find it. They tried their best. But God always knows where the lost thing is. Always know. There's no time God doesn't know. So if we will cut our wandering short by actually talking to God, we will see in other lessons in the future, we will see people who they don't even begin. They have learned this lesson. They don't even begin to search for something until they have asked God, and God says, go do it. Because that shortens your perambulating. It cuts, you may not necessarily be sinning, but at least you will be wasting your time. And you're going to damage the faith you have. Your resilience will go down, because everything you touch, it will not work out. And when it doesn't work out, you give up on this, you give up on that, you give up on that, you never make a progress. So we want to make progress. And in everything, just little thing like looking for animal, you see how God intervened. And God used that beyond the thoughts and the minds of those who were involved. So we saw Samuel met with Saul and anointed him. Anointed him king, and then gave him some things that we need to look at. Let's look at item number 4. Item number 4. Ma? Yeah, right. Yeah, somebody's reading it in back.
What three prophecies did Samuel make regarding the signs that would happen to Saul's journey? 1 Samuel chapter 10, verses 2 to 6. What can we learn from them for our lives today?
Okay, let's read 1 Samuel 10, 2 to 6.
2. When thou art departed from me today, then thou shalt find 2 men by Rachel's sepulchre in the border of Benjamin at Zilzah. And they will say unto thee, the asses which thou wentest to seek are found. And lo, thy father hath left the care of the asses, and sorroweth for you, saying, What shall I do for my son? 3. Then shalt thou go on forward from thence, and thou shalt come to the plain of Tabor, and there shall meet 3 men going up to God to Bethel, one carrying 3 kids, and another carrying 3 loaves of bread, and another carrying a bottle of wine. 4. And they will salute thee, and give thee 2 loaves of bread, which thou shalt receive of their hands. 5. After that thou shalt come to the hill of God, where is the garrison of the Philistines. And it shall come to pass, when thou art come thither to the city, that thou shalt meet a company of prophets coming down from the high place, with a psaltery, and a tabret, and a pipe, and a harp before them, and they shall prophesy. 6. And the Spirit of the Lord will come upon thee, and thou shalt prophesy with them, and shalt be turned into another man. 7. And let it be, when these signs are come unto thee, that thou do as occasion serve thee, for God is with thee. 8. And thou shalt go.
Yeah, let's read the 8. Read the 8.
8. And thou shalt go down before me to Gilgal, and behold, I will come down unto thee to offer burnt offerings, and to sacrifice sacrifices of peace offerings. 7 days shalt thou tarry till I come to thee, and show thee what thou shalt do.
Thank you. Now, how many things did Samuel tell Saul here? How many things, did he say will happen or something like that? 3? You only read 3? Is it 3? Okay. All right. What was the first one? Okay. So he gave a particular location, right? He said, when you leave from me here now, as you turn and you are going, you will find people who will give you the message. What message will they give you? That the houses have been found. What problem did Saul have at this point? What problem? It's not a trick question. Yes, sir. Well, what led him to where he was? The asses were missing, right? That was the problem. Now, what is this? What is Samuel telling him about this problem? It is solved. They are found. So his mind should be at rest, correct? Yes. So God is dealing with the situation that happened in the past. God is letting him know, now that you are going to serve me, I take care of the past. The things I used to do, God takes care of it. The disease that you bring to the gospel, God just takes care of it. Amen. The problem you had, whatever it may be that pursued you to the throne of God, God takes care of it. Amen. That's what God was telling him here. Listen, the problem that brought you here, he already told him, don't worry about it, but maybe he needs another confirmation. He said, you're going to meet 2 people, they're going to tell you that problem is solved. Okay? Then, what else? What's the next thing? He's going to meet 3 men. And he told him where he's going to meet them, right? And he told them what they're going to be carrying. He told him they're going to give you 2 loaves of bread. You should take it from them. Yes. Correct? Yes. Aha. Did it happen? Yes. Did these things happen? Yes. Yes. Exactly as he said it was going to happen. All right? And then the next one was, yes, he was going to meet a band of prophets. And he will meet them by the garrison of The Philistines have just a problem, right? The first problem that Saul is going to have to face will be the Philistines. And when Saul is going to meet them, he's first going to meet the prophets of God. And when he meets the prophets of God, what's going to happen? They will prophesy, and the Spirit of God is going to come down upon Saul himself. The garrisons will be right there. The enemies will be right there. But they're not going to be able to touch him. He said, do as it occasions you, because God is with you. Psalm 23, right? You know, sometimes God will wait until the enemies put everything in array before he now put a table before you. You know, that was what God was telling him here. The Spirit of God is going to come upon you. You are going to be like another man. You know, when you see the enemy, it's not going to frighten you. It's not going to frighten you. If you are on God's side, if the Spirit of God is upon you, don't listen to anybody that says they'll call your name in the night. Let them call it in the night. What's the problem? If they know it in the day, they sure can call it in the night. But our God says, He has told us, you will sleep like a baby. That is what salvation is going to bring into your life. When you become a new man, when the old things pass away, when the power of God comes down upon your life, you will see the enemies, you will not even know they are enemies. There's no problem. That's what God told him. And then there was a fourth one. If you were with me, and that's why I allowed Femi to read verse 8. Danny, thank you. God bless you, man. So, the 8th verse, what did it tell us? What did the 8th verse tell us? The 8th verse that we read. Yes, ma'am.
Would have to make sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
And thou shalt go down before me to Gilgal, and behold, I will come down unto thee to offer burnt offerings and to sacrifice sacrifices of peace offering. 7 days shalt thou tarry till I come to thee and show thee what thou shalt do.
Thank you. That was the fourth thing that was told him. So Saul went, and he saw the first thing happened. He saw the second thing happened. He saw the third thing happen. The fourth and final thing was to happen. Saul, by the power of God, arranged this warfare between the garrisons that we remember, the garrisons that they saw. Now they have to go fight them. In chapter 13, I'm just going to skip down there so I can link these two. In chapter 13, I'm going to ask Ruthie to read chapter 13. Chapter 13, Ruthie, 13 verse 8 to 12. 1 Samuel 13, 8 to 12.
And he tarried 7 days according to the set time that Samuel had appointed, but Samuel came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. And Saul said, Bring hither a burnt offering to me and peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. And it came to pass that as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering, behold, Samuel came, and Saul went out to meet him, that he might salute him. 11. And Samuel said, What hast thou done? And Saul said, Because I saw that the people were scattered from me, and that thou camest not within the days appointed, and that the Philistines gathered themselves together at Michmash. 12. Therefore said I, the Philistines will come down now upon me to Gilgal, and I have not made supplication unto the Lord. I forced myself, therefore, and offered a burnt offering.
Thank you. Do you understand what just happened here? Do you remember what we were talking about this from the beginning of this lesson? He was given these instructions, 4 instructions. The first one happened to the letter. The second one happened to the letter. The third one happened to the letter. Can the fourth one happen? Now, can you see what Saul did here? 4 instructions. The first one, second one, there was none of the ones that, none of them were like easy stuff. They're not things that could happen by chance. They were serious stuff, and they happened. Now Saul went to where he was supposed to go. Then people came and followed him. You know, I skipped the sections where he was anointed, but I wanted to tie the two together. So you see, you hear where he was given the instructions. And then when he looked around and he saw some of the Israelite soldiers, they were leaving. He said, you know, he has waited. He was told, how many days should he wait? 7 days. He waited the first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth day, 6 days. On the 7th day, he expected that Samuel would just wake up first thing in the morning and get there. Well, maybe that was what Samuel planned. But Samuel followed the leading of God. Samuel doesn't go do something. He's a man that always asks God, when should I get up? Where should I go? Where should I do what? So God intentionally delayed Samuel to test Saul. And what did Saul do? He failed. He waited 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the 7th day. Oh, may God help us that we will not fail on the day of our success. The day of our victory, that will not be the day we're going to fail. The day we're leaving this world is not the day we're supposed to fail. May God help us. We have labored for so long. We've been here. I won't even consider it laboring, but at least we've been enjoying. We've known this God. It's been our God on the days of good and bad, and things have happened in our life. It doesn't matter how young you are here. You have a testimony. You need to be very, very careful. Ask God to help you. You see, you trying to get what you want right now, it's always a problem. I have to have it right now. Everybody is leaving. I need to get into this bus. I have to get this now. Everybody else is getting this one. Everybody better, everybody isn't made the same day. Everybody wasn't born the same day. Everybody is not everybody, all of us in this planet. God distinctly made us. You and your brother and your sister, your twins, you don't have the same fingerprint. Everybody doing something don't mean I have to do it. Especially when God gives me an instruction. God gave him an instruction. He said, you will wait for me there. That's what we read in chapter 10, right? God, he told him, wait for me. I will come and make a sacrifice. And he waited. First, second, third, to the 7th day. I don't know, maybe it was getting to the evening or whatever the time, and he said, oh no, it's not coming. And everybody is leaving. He said, okay, just bring the animal. Is it not just an animal to kill it and sacrifice? Bring it. And what did the Bible say? As soon as he finished. If he had waited 5 more minutes, maybe 10 more minutes, maybe 15 more minutes, if he had waited for that 15 more minutes, God would have established his kingdom forever. Can you imagine how do you feel for Saul? We're learning about all this so that God can talk to me. You better be very careful. I better be very, very careful. You know, whatever we just, put our head long and we go and do it. What if God doesn't approve? The next minute, God could say, but I was going to do something bigger for you. You're satisfied with this? Okay, have it. May God help us. He wanted to sacrifice. I mean, you're sacrificing to who? Is it not to God? He made the sacrifice. Soon as he made the sacrifice, Samuel came. And Samuel asked him, what did you just do? And what did he say? No, that's at a different occasion. It was your fault, Samuel. I mean, you said 7 days. And I've been here for first day, second day. I mean, come on, give me some credit. I've been here. And the day number 7 is almost gone. And you are just coming. Remember what we learned from the beginning. Samuel was an old man. Correct? All these things didn't begin when Samuel was a young man. Samuel was an old man. And he told you what God said. He said, wait 7 days. So you wait. It's not your business. Before Saul, were they not fighting wars? Yes. Did God not win battles for them? Is it Saul that is going to win the battle now? All of a sudden, we elevate ourselves to where we don't belong. I mean, if it wasn't me, if I wasn't there, well, one day you're not going to be there. One day I will not be there. And believe it or not, if I am not here, Sunday service will still hold the next Sunday. Yes. Well, yeah.
Saul won the battle.
Yeah, it's not
But
Saul.
it was- but it was-
We're not at the one that you're thinking about.
But it was covetous.
Yeah, we're not at that
So
one.
with what?
I know. You're talking about when God sent him to go and fight the Amalekites. But this was not that. This was the beginning of his ruin. This was the beginning of his ruin. Saul, you see, God need to help us. We can be doing some little things, just disobeying God in little ways where people will not see. This incident here that we just narrated, it happened between Samuel and Saul. Not everybody knew, right? But God knows. And God was the one that orchestrated it. Saul could have been immediately on his face, on the floor. And Samuel would be the one to say, okay, get up now. That would have been an appropriate thing. Not to say the people were leaving. God didn't tell the people. The instruction wasn't given to the people. It was given to you. The people are not the one that, it doesn't really matter. What's the worst thing? The Philistines will come and start fighting. And God, who said you should wait from him, we will see what God will do. Right? I know what I'm saying is easier said than done. But God will try me on my own day. God will try you on your own day. My prayer is that God will remind you and remind me of what we're talking about. It's easy for us to fail when we're hyper. It's very, very easy for us to forget what God has told us when we don't have patience to wait for God. When we must have what we want today. Tomorrow we cannot do it. If we don't do it today, everything is going to scatter. Everything is going to... You don't know that. Do you? No, you don't know that. No, because we have gone to school. We have our PhD now. We know about everything. But I can let you know. If it is what God says, you have to put PhD aside. Nobody has PhD in terms of godliness. Nobody. And nobody can tell God what to do and when to do it and how to do it. God decides on what he's going to do and how he will do it. We need to be warned. We need to be warned. We have to warn ourselves. Look at your own heart and tell your heart, don't push me into trouble. You can always wait till tomorrow. Wait. Isn't that what the Word of God says? It says, wait on the Lord, right? That's the biggest problem we human beings have. God has to do something now. I have heard somebody pray, oh God, you have to do something now or your name will be in shame or something. Why does God have to do something now? We want God to do something now, but does God have to do something now? No. You know, in our lesson this week, in our Sunday school lesson, we're talking about fasting, right? Even after we have fasted, does God have to answer our question, answer our prayer right now? No. Do you know there are so many things that when we pray for, they're not good for us? And God, being a loving Father that He is, will not give us because He knows we're going to ruin ourselves. He knows what is going to take us away from Him. And you want that? This week, the one great man, Ian Coker, is the one that began Ford. You know, a lot of the Ford Mustang and Ford cars in those days. He was the designer. You know, very, very rich man. Just imagine somebody that was designing cars in the early 40s, 50s. He died at 94 this week. What did he take from here? What are you going to take from here? Nothing. At the end of the day, all of us are just subject to the same God. We stand before God. You cannot let anybody push you to disobey God. Remember that prophet? Remember that prophet that God told specifically, this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you're supposed to do. He did it. Correct? But another person came and said, listen, God just appeared to me now. Which God? Is it the same God? No. And he let us know that he deceived him. So if God spoke to you and you are aware of it, if you take the Bible and you read it and you know what God says, and because your friends are doing something or some other people are doing something, even in the church, God speaks to you in the church. God lets you know. It's not that what Saul did was, he didn't go out to go commit sin, but he disobeyed God in two ways. Number one, it doesn't pertain to him to offer sacrifice. That's number one. Number two, he was told to wait. Samuel told him, I will come and offer sacrifice. You wait. That was the instruction given to him, and he could not obey those instructions. That was why he got in trouble with God. Now, there are other things, let's quickly look at the contrast. 1 Samuel chapter 14. 1 Samuel chapter 14. No, not from 1, let's read verse 6.
Come, and let us go over unto the garrison of this uncircumcised. It may be that the Lord will work for us, for there is no restraint to the Lord to save by many or by few. 7. And his armor-bearer said unto him, Do all that is in thine heart. Turn thee, behold, I am with thee according to thy heart. 8. Then said Jonathan, Behold, we will pass over unto these men, and we will discover ourselves unto them. 9. If they say thus unto us, Tarry until we come to you, then we will stand still in our place, and will not go up unto them. 10. But if they say thus, Come up unto us, then we will go up, for the Lord hath delivered them into our hand, and this shall be a sign unto us.
Thank you. So who is talking there? Who is Jonathan? Saul's son. Saul's son, Jonathan. His attitude is different from his father. You know? Jonathan's attitude was very different, not only at this time, we will see later on when we discuss David, you'll see his attitude was different. He knew to wait and let God give the directive. When God says move, he would move. And in this case, only 2 of them. His father, he had a big army, and he said some people were leaving, right? Yeah. Because some people were leaving, he said, I forced myself. That was he said, I forced myself. And in the future, when we read about him again, like Sister Akpara was mentioning, when he went to the war with the Amalekites, what did he say? He said, the people made me. But the people didn't make him take Agag, the king of the Amalekites. They didn't make him do that. And he said, we brought all these nice things so we can do what? We can sacrifice them unto God. So the thing is, I don't know. May God help us. If we are coming to church and we want to go and perform whatever our duty may be, but we're going to disobey God in the process of doing that, then what is the point? What's the point? Like I told you, I've told you before, somebody I was watching on the TV who was going to leave his house, his job is an assassin. This was real. In some of the South American countries, his job is they pay him to kill people. So he took his bullets, he put them in the poison that he wanted to use, and he prayed over them. Yes. He prayed over them and said, oh God, don't let any policeman see me. Oh God, the people that this bullet are for, let them die quick. In Jesus' name. I'm telling you what I saw now. So somebody who is going to leave his house to go kill other people, he put those bullets, not ordinary bullets, he put them into some poison or something, and he prayed over them. That's love, right? That's serving God, right? So we do not want to end up in the same place with those kind of people. Okay? I believe that thing disgusts every one of us. Is that correct? You know, but then, you know, maybe what we say also can kill another person, give them a stroke, damage their relationship with God, make them quit. May God help us. So, what is Saul teaching us tonight? What do we learn from Saul? Okay, yes. Obedience. Obey, right? Obey. Now, you know, I don't read in the Bible that God spoke directly to Saul. That God, you know, spoke from heaven and Saul heard. I didn't read that. But does it matter? Does it matter? Sister Blackwell, does it matter? That's my question. God did not speak from heaven verbally. From what I read in the Bible, if you know any other place, let me know. That God spoke verbally to speak to the ear of Saul. But did it matter? That's my question. It did not matter. Why?
Because God, in this case, God has used Samuel.
Thank you.
To speak to him.
God spoke
Samuel is a man of
to him the word of God. God sent the word of God to him, and was he sure that that was the word of God? Absolutely. Absolutely. He knew this was God talking to me. And if we see the other things, you know, with some of the items we skipped, you see that, you know, God orchestrated it. He brought all the children of Israel together and anointed him 3 times. 3 times. I don't know why God did it 3 times. 1 would have been good enough, right? But God did it 3 times to confirm to him that God was going to be with him. But just like his people, he was doing the same thing. He was doing the same thing. He was not going to give God a chance. He was not going to be obedient to God. And God warned him, I believe, because he himself will confess and say, I have sinned. He knows. And you will see later on that if you keep on studying, you see when he began to pursue David from one cave to another, that he will, you know, kill 70 priests of God, just like that. Then his heart will let him know, you're not doing the will of God. And he told David, you are more righteous than me. I know you're going to be king, and I will not pursue you again. What's he going to do next? Once he gets home and he drinks something and whatever, he turns around and he starts to do the same thing again. That was him. And that's what disobedient lead people to do. Don't trust yourself. Don't trust yourself. You know, that songwriter says, don't trust yourself. You never can tell the devil how far he can take you. You know, if you let him have you, he will take you beyond where you think you can go. The evil you think you cannot do, you will do it. And you just look back and say, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I said that. So the best thing for us tonight is to go back to God and put ourselves in God's hand. Let God walk in our heart. Because you see, at the end of the day, we want to make heaven our home. No matter what happens, as we said at the beginning, We don't want to get tired. We don't want to drop out. Because, who knows? Some people, the day they drop out, that was the day they were supposed to go to glory. And they don't go to glory. That day, that very day. It happened to this Saul we are reading about here. The day that God was going to establish him was the day he failed. May God help us that will not happen to us. So we're going to go down on our knees. Let's spend some time in prayer, and then we will close. God bless you.